Hello, everybody. It's me. It's Chad. Back with another bit of D&D content. It's been a couple weeks. I've been reading through a couple different third-party supplements in order to do a review of them, but I just haven't got it done yet because I am also busy doing other stuff, whether it's streaming or crafting the game for my table, that I run for. But today I came home from work and I was eating dinner, and I saw, because I completely forgot about it while I was at work, that Wizards of the Coast had a big showcase event today that covered some D&D stuff and some Magic the Gathering stuff. Magic the Gathering's not my thing. Much love to those of you out there that love it, though. I like the art on the cards a whole lot, but only when it's big, not when it's in a little tiny card. And the game never really clicked with me. So they got some cool stuff coming with Magic the Gathering. Doctor Who, Lord of the Rings, returning to the original setting. Lots of stuff there, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Unearthed Arcana that dropped today. You can go to D&D Beyond right now, and you can get the playtest packet, the first playtest packet for the new way they're thinking of doing things. For those of you that may have been living under a rock, if you're watching this, I don't know who you would be, but I'll for the sake of, completion, being a bit of a completionist here, in 2024, the next evolution of D&D is coming, 5.5, if you will, or as they've decided to call it, 1D&D. Chris Perkins said in a video package that was really nicely put together, that they're trying to kind of move past the idea of editions, and it's just D&D now. It's very corporate, very we're not Xbox, we're not Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox so-and-so, we're Xbox. I could care less about the branding of it, but I do like some of what I saw gone over with Todd Kenrick on the D&D official channel. Put out a video, it's like an hour long, where they talk about this playtest. This is my first time seeing it, looking at it, going over it with you. But I heard a lot of things I like. Obviously, this is playtest material. A lot could change if it is very, very negatively reviewed. We know how terrible about change some people are, myself included. But I saw some stuff in here that I really, really love. And I think moving forward, I might start incorporating it in general. So let's first go to the website. Right here. You can't see it because my head's in the way, but it's dndbeyond.com/1-DND. You get to start playtesting. You click that, and it'll take you to the reminder that this is playtest material only. You got an FAQ if that's what you're looking for. And then right here is the first one. Character origins, right? In our first Unearthed Arcana for the 1D&D rule system, we dive into material design for the player's handbook coming out in 2024. The playtest document presents character creation rules, including options for races, backgrounds, and feats. You will also find a glossary of new or revised meaning for game terms. Click that. There we go. Let me see how it looks on your screen. I might need to zoom in. Let me double check here. Yeah, I need to zoom in if it's going to be more legible for you. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty nice right there. Jeremy Crawford was who was talking to Todd Kenrick in the video I watched. This will be the first in a series of articles that are going to be playtest material. You got race options that are being considered, character background, starting languages, feats. They've introduced the concept of leveled feats now. We saw this in some of the newer books. I don't have my copy of Spelljammer yet, but I believe Spelljammer had it, and we've seen it in some of the other play-tested stuff that, like, your backgrounds will give you feats. That is going to be a new thing coming forward, and I like it. I like the idea of background being more than just slightly mechanical, slightly role-play thing. Like, you choose the noble background, you get all these things that come out if you even play in an environment, world, or work, Like the acolyte background is one I recently looked at during character creation with my players. That like, oh, you can get room and board at a temple. Well, if you're not playing in an area where the temple is, it doesn't really help you. So this adds more stuff to it that I really like. Again, the reminder that this is playtest material. This is where it starts to change immediately. Officially now, you choose your class first. What do you want to play? Do you want to be a wizard? Do you want to be a warlock? Do you want to be a paladin? Barbarian? Bard? Whatever. Pick your class first. Right? And then you start deciding your race, your background, your languages. It breaks down creature size, type, size, speed, lifespan, special traits, stuff like that. Then you get your background traits. Oh, I'm going to be a noble. So then it gives you your ability score bonuses. It doesn't say it here, but he did go on to say in the video that it could be 2 +2 to 1, +1 to another, or of course the 1/1/1 if you'd like to do it that way. Get your skill proficiencies, your tool proficiency. You learn one language from your background, and then each background will contain a first level feat. And then you get your equipment that comes with it as well. And then, two characters can be fighters. One's a human guard, one's a dwarf gladiator, and they bring different things to the table. After choosing race and background, you choose a language that your character knows in addition to common. This document provides descriptions and rules for human, Ardling, which we'll talk about in a second, Dragonborn, Dwarf, Elf, Gnome, Halfling, Orc, and Tiefling. It's nice to see Orcs added to the player handbook. They've been a playable race for a while, but they've never been, from jump, a playable race. Tieflings beat them to the punch. Here we go. I like this. This is something that other systems and other third-party books and stuff have done already. It's no longer limited on the archaic stylings of, well, dwarves and orcs can't have children. Dwarves and elves can't have children. Halflings and humans can't interbreed. Now you can be the lineage of whatever. I like that. As someone who just created a tiefling ASMR the other day, because I like the idea of upper and lower planes intermingling like that. Half fiend, half angel. Quarter, like how does that? Anyway, so I like this idea. I like the idea that you can pair any two humanoids, and then you choose which race gives you your game stats, size, speed, special traits, and stuff like that, and then you can mix and match visual characteristics, which is brilliant. Do you want to be a dwarf tiefling? Go for it. Or like I seen once art of a drow dwarf, the child of a drow elf and a dwarf, and it was a really cool looking character, but you never had official rules for it. And then you average out the two lifespans to figure out how long your character would live. That's cool. Of course, humans right out the gate always. You get our traits. You can now be a small human. I think most of the humanoid type creatures can now be small or medium, which is brilliant. 80 years on average. You gain inspiration whenever you finish a long rest. That's pretty cool. Inspiration changed. We'll talk about that in a second too. Yeah, and we talk about humans of many worlds. And then we get into Ardlings. Ardlings are supernal beings who are either born on the upper planes or have one or more ancestors who originated there. They're different than Asimar. Or Asimar, depending on how you pronounce it. Their bright souls shine with the light of immortal beings who call the upper planes home. An Ardling has a head resembling that of an animal. Typically one with virtuous associations, depending on the animal. The Ardling might also have soft fur, downy feathers, or supple bare skin. The Ardling's celestial legacy determines the animal it resembles. An Ardling gains a measure of magical power from their celestial legacy, as well as the ability to manifest spectral wings. An Ardling's moral and ethical outlook is self-determined, however, and not fixed by ancestry. The three celestial legacies are as follows. Exalted, the fierce passions of Arborea, the heroic heart of Isgard, and the wondrous nature of the Beastlands call to Ardlings who have the exalted celestial legacy. Somebody's tired. These are the heroic champions of chaotic good planes. Heavenly, we get Arcadia, Mount Celestia, and Bitopia. So these are the lawful good ones. And idyllic. Beastlands is on here twice. Okay. And Bitopia. But also Elysium. These are the neutral planes. Again, humanoid, 4 to 7. So anywhere from 3 to 7 feet tall. 30 feet of speed and 200 years on average. As a bonus action, you sprout your spectral wings and fly up to a number of feet equal to your speed, and then you have to land. So temporary flight being a thing here. Here we get their Exalted gets cat, eagle, goat, mule faces. They get Thaumaturgy, Divine Favor, and Lesser Restoration. Heavenly gets Elephant, Owl, Pig, and Stork. They get Light, Cure Wounds. Wait a minute, Heavenly? Isn't Heavenly lawful? Yeah, Heavenly is lawful good, and it gets Pig. Bear, Dog, Raven, Toad is idyllic. That's intentional, right? That has to be intentional. Damage resistance. Resistant to radiant damage. Dragonborn. Here we get the different stories of Dragonborns. Eggs blessed by Bahamut and Tiamat, who wanted to populate the world with dragons. World of dragons with people created in their image. Or the dragons themselves created the first Dragonborn. Dragonborn look like wingless bipedal dragons. I like Dragonborn with wings. Makes them special. But, you know, the average Dragonborn mini does not have wings on it. When Dragonborn interbreed. Dragonborn of different colors interbreed. The offspring scales match one pair or the other. So you don't get hybrid. A red and a blue doesn't make a purple, sadly. I'm glad that they went with Dragonborn being colored, though, because, like, I'm pretty sure the player's handbook in 5e says that they're all, like, shades of red to brown. Like, it's kind of like the tiefling thing in the 5e handbook, where it's like, they must be shades of red or human flesh tones, and then the picture of the tiefling on the book is purple. On that very page is a purple tiefling. 5 to 7 feet tall, 80 years on average. You get your draconic ancestry, it's your breath weapon and your damage resistance. Breath is a cone. No matter what color, your red dragonborn still breathes a cone instead of a line. Dark vision, language. Yeah, it talks about the different worlds again. And then we move on to dwarves. Talks about the gods. Bear with me, I'm not going word for word. This is a 21-page document. We're only on page 5. Dwarves live 350 on average, 4 to 5 feet tall. Get tool proficiency with 2 of these weapons. Hit point maximum increases by 1, and 1 every. Again, you get an extra 1 extra hit point every level. I don't know if that's new. I've never played as a dwarf. Here we talk about the different dwarves. And we talk about, like, here on Faerun, here. In Faerun, the dwarves of the south are gold dwarves, and dwarves of the north are shield dwarves. Elves, here we go. They used to be able to shapeshift? That's not something I knew about D&D elves, that they used to be able to change their physical forms at will. I guess that makes sense why Eladrin can do it, right? Anyway. Elves have the mystical ability to take on characteristics in the environment with which they are bonded. Drow to the Underdark, High Elves to Fey crossings in the material plane, and Wood Elves to forest. These connections grant elves access to certain kinds of magic. Blessed with long lives, long memories. They don't sleep, but instead enter the trance, so that remains the same. Let me get elven lineages here in a second. 5 to 6 feet tall, 30 feet, 750 years on average. Dark vision, elven lineage, Fey ancestry, keen senses, trance. Okay, so they break the lineages into Drow, High Elf, Wood Elf. Curious to see how they're going to roll in the non-Underdark Drow and the Eladrin and the Astral Elves, since they're not here in this setup. Yeah, see, this again just talks about Drow. Talks about exceptions to the Underdark. Some Drow societies avoid the Underdark altogether. They just established recently that there's Drow that live in the jungles to the south and in the north in like a frozen thing. Because that's when they had like the Uda Drow, the something else Drow, and the something else Drow. I don't know if D&D's dropping that already. Because that seems like it was just fairly newly introduced, like last year. Oh, here we go. These ones here. For example, on the world of Eberron, for example, Drow dwell in gloomy rainforests. So that's still talking about Eberron. High elves. So sun and moon elves are high elves. Wild elves, green elves, and forest elves are all wood elves. Gnomes. Yeah, nothing's really changed about gnomes. They're 3 to 4 feet tall. They got an additional 5 feet of speed, though. Because wasn't it gnomes and halflings that... That's the Dungeon Master's Guide. That's not... I don't know where my player's handbook is. Where is my player's handbook? Yeah. Classes. Those are races. Halfling. Halfling. Halfling had 25 feet. And gnomes had 25 feet. So that is a change. You heard it here first. That gnomes now move 5 feet more in 6 seconds than they used to. I think I just seen something that we have forgotten to utilize at our table. Gnome Cunning. It's Gnome Cunning on 5e. Gnomish here. You have advantage on all intelligence, wisdom, and saving throws. I do believe my gnome wizard at my table doesn't use that. I have to remind them of that next time we play. Minor illusion cantrip. Speak with animal spells if you're forced now. Rock gnome gets mending and prestidigitation. Doesn't have deep gnomes on here. Interesting. See, that's something I think they should do at this point. The player's handbook for 1 D&D, it just needs to be an enormous options book. Because, like, I just went and compiled a list of all the race and class and subclass options because we're getting ready to start a second campaign in the next couple months. But we're just gearing up to it now. And the list, I mean, granted, my list includes all the third-party stuff, all the DM's Guild stuff, all the GM Binder stuff, all the Kobold Press stuff, stuff from Planet Apocalypse, stuff from Tome of Heroes, everything. I spent like 4.5 hours the other day compiling it all, races and classes and subclasses. Like, races, I'm up to, like, I don't know why I'm trying to remember when I could just open it. My master list of race options in D&D is now up to 72 different races. From across all of the third-party stuff and the official stuff. So with just the official stuff that they've put out, Monsters of the Multiverse, all that stuff, anything that has player race options in it and player class options in it needs to be in the book. Maybe they didn't put it here on the Unearthed Arcana to save space because it's already a 21-page thing. But I think when the next player's handbook comes out, it needs to be just thick with options. Halflings 2 to 3 feet tall, so they remain shorter than gnomes. That's something I didn't realize at first. I always had it flipped. In my head, halflings were bigger than gnomes. It wasn't until I started getting the actual minis of gnomes and halflings that I realized how tiny both races were. Okay, you move through the space of any creature that is at least a size larger than you. You get luck. I like that they call it a D20 test now. It's no longer a check. Anything that is, well, let me wind that back. Anything that involves a D20 roll is a test. So an attack roll or an ability check are called tests in the book. Strongheart or stouts, Lightfoot or tall fellows. Orc. You got orcs. They're gray skin. Not green skin, they're gray skin in the official D&D. Get Adrenaline Rush, Dark Vision, powerful build. Relentless Endurance. I guess it says you can drop to 1 hit point. Who is going to choose not to? Like, you know what? No, I'm done. I'm out. Maybe there's a reason for it that I just can't fathom, but... Aha! Obold mini arrows. Those books are really good, by the way, where Obold shows up. Tieflings. Now see... D&D, you're willing to make a hard stance on the pronunciation of tieflings, because I know some people want to pronounce it tiefling. A tiefling pronounced tiefling, yet, and we'll talk about it when I get to the Spelljammer books, You had to make a joke a GIF. Whether it's GIF or GIF. But you'll take a stance on Tiefling. That's an interesting choice. Tieflings now have a moral outlook legacy system just like the Ardlings. Abyssal. You get, the Abyss, Pandemonium, Carcery. They're the ones that have the Abyssal Fiendish legacy. Horns, fur, tusk, black blood. Peculiar odors. Chthonic. Tieflings who have this legacy not only feel the tug of Carcery, but also the greed of Gehenna and the gloom of Hades. Some of these tieflings look cadaverous. Others possess the unearthly beauty of an incubus or succubus. Or they have physical features in common with a night hag. So that's the neutral evil. And then Infernal, you get the standard nine hells, devil type. Horn, spines, tails, golden eyes, sulfur. The devil tieflings. You can be a 4 foot tall, 3 foot tall tiefling now. 100 years on average. Get the Fiendish Legacy benefits. Thaumaturgy. Alright, here's our legacies. You get poison damage and poison spray. Necrotic damage and chill touch. Fire damage and firebolt. Ray of sickness, false life, hellish rebuke. Hold person, ray of enfeeblement, darkness. Alright, we're back to the backgrounds now. You can build a background, select a pre-made background, or alright, so you can build a background, select a pre-made background, or select a pre-made background and then customize it with the build a background section. How does your background influence your current worldview? Do you embrace or reject your background? Did you form any relationships during your background that endure today? Okay. Using the rules here, you can build a background from scratch or customize a pre-made background. When you build a background, your character gains the features in the background features section below as you make choices for those features. So this is kind of where I think like the Heroic Chronicle stuff would come in real handy. I know when we just built characters for this weekend's one-shot, we used the Heroic Chronicle and the This Is Your Life thing. We're like, okay, do you want to have siblings? Do you want to not have siblings, or do you want to choose the number, or do you want to roll for it? And that's how I did it with my kids. And that's always worked real well for us. Acolyte. Pretty similar to what you get right now. See, I like these little story bits. You begin mopping floors and scrubbing counters in a workshop for a few coppers per day, and as soon as you were strong enough to carry a bucket, when you were finally old enough to apprentice, you learned to create basic crafts of your own. Yeah, and see, a lot of these existed already. And then you get the stuff that comes with it. Crowbar, 2 daggers, 2 pouches, 16 gold, traveler's clothes, thieves' tools for the criminal. Guard, farmer, gladiator, guide, hermit, noble. Nobles get the 24 gold. Laborer, pilgrim, sage, sailor. This is something, yes, we should talk about that. Going back up to the top. Remember how we talked about how feats now come with your background. Acolytes get the Divine Magic Initiative. And remember that bit right there. We'll come to that in a moment. Artisans get Crafter. Charlatans get Skilled. Criminals get Alert, which makes sense. Cultists get Arcane Magic Initiate. Entertainer gets the musician feat. Farmer gets tough. Guard gets alert. Makes sense. Gladiator gets savage attacker. The guide gets magic initiate primal. Hermit gets primal as well. Noble gets skilled. Laborer gets tough. Pilgrim gets healer. Sage gets magic initiate arcane. Sailor gets tavern brawler. Soldier got savage attacker, I saw. Urchin gets lucky. So the feats rolling in like that, I really like that. That was actually something I was planning on doing with the second campaign, and I'm going to do with our one-shot this weekend. That I'm going to run with 2 of my players since the third one's not available. I like feats coming with first level. I've always kind of hated the... And I say always, I've only been playing for a couple years. I have hated from day one the ASI or feat. Like, it sucks that there's only a couple of times for most of the classes. I think fighter gets it more. But, like, you only have a couple of moments where you can make yourself better or get a feat. And I know a lot of the feats have gain 1 to charisma or whatever as a part of them. But it just really sucks to reach that point of, hey, I leveled up to level 5 or whatever, and now I can either become slightly stronger, slightly faster, slightly more dexterous, slightly more intelligent, or I can get a feat. I like it being something you get from the jump. And the fact that the first level feats are, as we'll discuss in just a second, as you can see over here, they're not necessarily overpowered. They're not the ones that are going to, like, truly upset the power balance. I like this a whole lot. Sign language is now a language that you can speak. That's just a nice touch. The usual stuff. Giant speak giant, no surprise. Abyssal, celestial, deep speech, draconic, druidic, infernal, primordial, which includes Aquan, Auran, Ignan, and Terran dialects from the elementals, Sylvan, Thieves' Cant, and Undercommon. Alright. Feats now break down this way. You get a feat level. To take a feat, your level must equal or exceed that feat's level. That's not entirely new. There have been feats before that you couldn't take if you weren't at a certain level. Just like prerequisites are not new. I don't think any of them have been repeatable before, though. So, like, alert here. Are feats in the player handbook, or are they in the DMG? Feats. 165. Close, 185. Okay, I want to compare alert here. Alright. Alert is now a first level feat. Has no prereq and it's not repeatable. Always on the lookout for danger, you gain the following benefits. Okay, same. Initiative proficiency. Originally, it was +5 to initiative. Now it's going to be your proficiency bonus. It no longer contains you can't be surprised while you're conscious, and other creatures don't gain advantage on attack rolls. It has been replaced with initiative swap, which means you can flip it. I wonder where the can't be surprised and advantage bit goes. I like initiative swap. That's cool. I like the idea of being like, we want the wizard to go first, because they've got a really powerful 7th level spell that can just wreck this fight. But oh no, the fighter who has alert rolled highest. They can go, I'm switching places with the wizard at the start of the battle. That's really cool. I like that. Let's see what they changed with the crafter feat. Look at that. I opened a 168, 169. I nailed it. Crafter was not a feat originally. Was healer one. Healer. First level, repeatable. Okay, originally it was you are an able physician, allowing you to mend wounds quickly and get your allies back in the fight. You have the training and intuition to administer first aid and other care effectively. If you have a healer's kit, you can spend one use of it and tend to a creature within 5 feet of you as an action. That creature can spend one of its hit die, and then you roll that die. The creature regains a number of hit points equal to the roll plus your proficiency bonus. And whenever you roll a die to determine the number of hit points you restore the spell, or with this feat's battle medic benefit, you can re-roll the die if it rolls a 1. That is awesome. That's a cool change. Luck points equal to your proficiency bonus. Immediately after you roll a d20 for a d20 test, you can spend 1 luck point to give yourself advantage. Or you can spend luck to give someone disadvantage. I do believe that is different. Not so lucky this time. I landed in the 140s. Let's see. Luck points are equal to your proficiency bonus. Originally, you only had 3. Okay, so lucky's basically the same. The big change is instead of being 3 luck points, it's how your proficiency bonus. That's significant. Magic initiative. Choose one spell list: Arcane, Divine, or Primal. Originally it was choose a class: Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard. You learn 2 cantrips of your choice from that class's spell list. And then in this case, you choose Arcane, Divine, or Primal. We'll talk about it now. Magic is being split back up into Divine Magic, Arcane Magic, and Castic. Magic is going back to being Arcane, Divine, or Primal. That's something I believe was from older editions. I never played older editions. I dabbled a little bit in 3.5. Never really clicked with me. But I know the books and stuff that were written in that era always talked about Divine Magic and Arcane Magic and stuff. So it's the spell lists are being broken up again. They haven't put out classes yet to see how the classes utilize it. I would reckon that Paladins and Clerics are going to be limited to Divine. Warlocks probably too. This is just me guessing. And I could see Wizards and Sorcerers being Arcane. Sorcerers, though, might lean Primal. Druids, I can almost guarantee you will be Primal. That's just my take on it. Because we're getting to the end finally. Before we get to the magic list, we'll talk about the magic list in just a second. D20 test. Anytime you roll a D20 for an ability check, an attack roll, or saving throw, that's what the term D20 test means now. If something in the game affects D20 test, it will affect all 3 rolls. This one I know a lot of people play this way, so a lot of people will be really happy with this. A 1 is an automatic failure on any D20 test. Rules as written, 5th edition. A 1 is only a failure on an attack. There is still a possibility of success on a skill check. And a saving throw. Like if the saving throw DC is 5 and you roll a 1 but you have a +5 modifier, you succeed. Now a 1 is a failure, a 20, as you see down here, is a success. And a player gains inspiration on a 20. Any D20 test results in a 20. If they don't already have a point of inspiration, they get inspiration. They discussed in the video I watched that they wanted inspiration to be more of a mechanical thing and less of a on the DM's whim. Because I've read many people talk about it before, that inspiration felt like it was tacked on at the end of the creation of 5e. It just felt like, oh yeah, if you do something cool and the DM likes it, they could maybe sort of give you inspiration. Now there's a mechanical reason to get it, but it doesn't stack. It doesn't say it here, but it doesn't stack according to Jeremy Crawford. Critical hits, weapons, and unarmed strikes. I read this as to say that spell attacks no longer have crit. I could be wrong, but that is the way it reads, because it talks about how it's weapons and unarmed strikes. Let me see if we can find what the unarmed strike. It's a melee attack, so yeah, a spell is not an unarmed strike. Notice it says a specific feature for player characters. He went on to talk in the video I watched. I highly suggest you watch it after you're done with this. Critical hits no longer apply to the DM in this new rule set that they're building. They said because it's like a level 1 character can be destroyed outright on a crit. You know, if you've got 6 hit points and the monster hits you for 12, you're gone. No death saves, nothing. You're dead. And it specifies unarmed strike here too, that like, I didn't realize there are characters that if they hit you unarmed, it doesn't do damage. I didn't realize that was a thing. I thought it was just a standard 1d4. But apparently, there are characters' rules as written that can punch you and not hurt you. I guess it's more... that was slightly facetious. I guess it comes down to more like unarmed strikes that don't do damage. Like, you can't crit a grapple, basically, is what it's saying. Or a shove. Yeah, you have to do damage on the unarmed strike. I was reading it a little too literally and got a bit facetious. We got divine spells. Yeah, hey, look, I called it. Clerics and paladins harness the divine spell list. Where's the other spells? I want to see the other spells. D20 test. This is weird the way they broke this rules glossary down. I know it's alphabetical, but like it okay, inspiration, the D20 test, and the DM can also award it. You can only have one instance of inspiration at a time. I don't know why I highlighted down there. Ooh, you lose it at long rest. We had been playing with the house rule that you keep inspiration for the session. At least 6 hours of sleep and no more than 2 hours of light activity such as reading, talking, eating, or standing watch. Benefits of the rest: you get all lost hit points, spent hit dice up to half the creature's total. That stayed the same. You can't take more than one long rest in a 24-hour period, and you must have at least one hit point to rest. So you can't be dead when the long rest starts and heal. Primal spells, druids and rangers. Tool proficiency, unarmed strikes, tremor sense. Okay, here's the arcane spells. I was gonna say I thought druids got primal because obviously druidcraft and shillelagh and all these very standard hail of thorns. But I didn't see hunter's mark when I looked at that list. Okay, so that's how they're gonna do it now. They're gonna break down your spells more based on what type of magic it is, not so much who you are. And I think that actually kind of saves time when you are creating a character, because it's no longer, let me find the druid spells, or, oh, this feature lets you take spells from the wizards or the warlocks. Which one do you want? You know, like, that's a good question, though. Are warlocks arcane spells then? Yeah, bards, sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards. Okay. Well. Whoops. Punched my microphone. That was the Unearthed Arcana playtest for 1 D&D, Character Origins and Creations. A bit of a mouthful. I am very excited by what we saw here. I know we are still a year and 4 months away. Like, assuming it were to drop January 1st, which I doubt it will, 2024, we are a year and 3 months away, and some weeks, from 1 D&D. I don't know if they're going to keep that name. They didn't say. They said that's what they're calling it presently. I like a lot of these changes. I don't know how I feel about the DM not getting crits. That, I know that wasn't covered here in the playtest, but that, like I said, it was in the video they talked about. Because it feels good as a DM to get a crit also. But I understand as like a low-level player how scary that would be for a monster to conceivably end you with one hit. But also, I don't know. I have to think about it. I have to see how it feels in practice. I don't crit a lot as the DM, I've noticed. Largely because I use a lot of skill save spells and attacks and abilities. So I haven't had too many instances of critting my players, but it does happen. It does feel good. Jeremy Crawford talked about the recharge ability being the DM's crit, and so that makes me wonder if more monsters are going to have recharge abilities. You know, because dragons get them. There's a number of others, but like the dragons are the ones that stand out immediately. The breath weapon recharges on a 5 or a 6. So you have a 33% chance of getting the recharge every time you roll it. I might have misspoke the percent. I know it is 1/3 of the die that gets you the breath weapon back. So I wonder if that means we will see more recharge abilities in our monsters moving forward. But I like a lot of what is in line here. Like the highlights for me really are the lawful good Ardling being a pig as an option. That's hilarious. The feats being adjusted. Yeah, it does suck that some of the alert feat changed. and some of the healing feat changed or whatever, but I like them being first level feats that you can take as part of your background. That is really, really cool in my opinion. D20's always being success. That ends that argument. You rolled a D20, you unlock the door. And then that gives you the leeway, like, of, you know, like if they're not good at it, they can, you know, if it's not something they're prone to doing or whatever, you can flavor it up real nice. I like the race build now where you can have size differences. You know, there are exceptionally short people. There are exceptionally tall people. I like being able to vary that so you can make yourself a small character as a human being if you so choose. I like sign language being one of the languages. That is really cool. I'm all in on accessibility being a thing. I like that you can combine races that previously you had been told you couldn't do. Because I remember when I first started playing with a buddy, I asked him about, you know, has there ever been, because when we first started, I wasn't as deep in as I am now. I certainly hadn't spent the hundreds of dollars that I've spent on D&D bullshit. I was asking about the comment, like, why are there no dwarves? And he was like, well, that's not possible. The lore says it can't happen. And I'm like, but why? Now it can. That is awesome. I want to be a short, stocky, little, tough, strong dude with green skin and relentless endurance. I like this a lot. I think it's a good first step into this next evolution of D&D, to use their terminology, 1 D&D. I really look forward to what's coming. On a content creation note, I will say that I did get notified right before we started recording this that my copy of Spelljammer should be here tomorrow. So that means early next week I should have my thoughts on it. I will be playing D&D with my kids this weekend, so there will be no streaming this weekend. I had planned on streaming tonight, but then I decided to do this instead because I really wanted to talk about this. So, thank you for watching. I'll put the link to D&D Beyond 1 D&D in the thing down there. Are you excited? I'm excited. I can't wait for more. We'll talk this week on the podcast about the stuff that was announced for next year and the rest of this year. I wanted this to mostly be about this, with a little bit of that other video that Todd Kendrick and Jeremy Crawford put out. Go check that out too. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on polynerdic.com, the Polynerdic YouTube channel, or wherever else you find this dorky guy right here talking about dorky stuff. Until next time, goodbye.